I get the opportunity to audit a lot of Google ad campaigns every month. And after doing this for as long as I have, almost 15 years, there's definitely some common themes. I discovered that if you make these changes, your performance will definitely change. This is true regardless of the campaign type. So it's applicable for search, performance max, shopping, display, even YouTube. So these are the top things I gravitate towards. We're going to use my Google ad account. I'm running a search campaign and a performance max campaign for my business. I've made some changes already. I've set us up for some examples. So don't think that my account is actually set up certain ways like this. I want to show you what it looks like to be wrong in some cases so you can see what it looks like to correct it. I want you to do this in your own account. So without further ado, let's hop in. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to log into my Google Ad account. And you can see I've got my two campaigns running Performance Max and Search. By the way, I know what campaign types are running just by looking at this little icon. So if it's not in the search title or in the campaign title, I can tell that this is my search campaign when it has a little magnifying glass and that this little box right here with the squiggly line is always Performance Max. So before I look at my campaign settings or my ad groups or my ads, I'm actually going to look at something else first. I can see I've got a search campaign. That's great. Now, when I do audits, I usually know what I'm getting into. I've spoken to the business owner, so I know the business that they're in, and I've asked them what the objective is of the campaign. So before I go confirm any of that by looking at actual ads, I'm actually going to go over here on the left-hand side of the Google Ads dashboard, and I'm going to click on Insights and Reports. This is going to expand a menu right here, and I'm going to click on the Search Term Report. For search campaigns, we bid on keywords, right? If you've built a Google ad campaign, you were asked to give Google a basket of keywords, right? What do you want to spend money on? This report, this search term report, is showing us exactly what the users who went to Google, what they typed into Google and hit enter, and it prompted our ad to get an impression. It's what they actually typed in. So this is really important. What we're looking for is relevancy to what I said before, which is what is my campaign objective? What am I actually advertising? Do people's search queries match that? So I'm advertising Google Ads services in different ways. So I want to know that my search terms are related to my industry. What I don't want to see is people looking for work, for jobs, for something that's on the peripheral of Google Ads, but not actually Google Ads. So people looking for a phone number from actual Google support or a blog article from Google. I need them looking for specific things related to marketing their business using someone else's services, in this case, hopefully mine. So I'm going to scroll through here and look at my search term report. If I see something that I feel is irrelevant, I'm going to select it by checking the box to the left of the search term. So I might think that Shopify marketing is too broad, let's say, for just Google Ads. I might highlight that. It's going to highlight the entire line there. And notice a new menu appears up top, and I can add this as a keyword. So I might expand my campaign's keywords if I think it's really relevant and I don't have that in there. Or in this case, I might click add as a negative keyword and add as a negative keyword. So that way, anyone shopping or looking for Shopify marketing in the future wouldn't see an ad for my service because that's just too broad. So go through your search term report looking for one, new keyword ideas, and two, most importantly, negative keyword ideas. It's money you're spending on that is wasted because it's irrelevant. They're not actually interested in your product or service. It will be clear as night and day here when you look at the search term report for your ads. You want a really robust negative keyword list if you don't already have one. Start by looking at your search term report. That leads me into, so this is a campaign level negative keyword list for a search campaign, okay? It's very powerful because it prevents wasted ad spend, makes sure that our campaign is focused on a very select number of keywords and only allowing certain search queries to come in, right? But what if we're running shopping ads or performance max, which is really popular and can be a really great campaign type for local businesses? So how do we control these unwanted search queries from peeking in? Because there is no campaign level negative keyword list. So the way around that is a master account level negative keyword list. So on our menu on the left-hand side of the Google Ads dashboard, we're going to click the admin icon down here at the bottom and go to account settings. And right about in the middle of the page, we're going to see negative keywords. We're going to click that and we're going to click the big blue plus sign. This is a great opportunity to add a master negative keyword list. So again, this is applicable to all campaigns that are currently running, plus any campaign that is added in the future. I love these account level negative keyword lists for anyone running shopping or performance max campaigns in particular. But if you are running a search campaign, it's the same thing. It's like the campaign like a negative keyword list, but if you have a lot of campaigns and you want a master list, you can use this instead of going in to each campaign and adding it. So some ideas or examples of master level negative keywords for me are going to be anything related to work. So I want to add things like employment, salary, pay, jobs, hiring, licensing, things of that nature. Those might be applicable for you as well, especially if you're like in the home service business. There's a lot of people looking for work. You want to block all those employment related search queries. You might also add competitor names. So in certain industries, those competitor names might be very expensive keywords. You might have seen them pop up on your search term report. Notice how expensive they are. You might add those competitor names in here as negative keywords. Oftentimes, somebody who searches for a competitor is probably already speaking or at least understands that their product or service is something that they're going to inquire about. You don't want to spend money on trying to poach that traffic. I think it's not good money spent. So I would add those to a negative keyword list. Some people don't like to do that. They actually like to have campaigns dedicated to trying to poach competitor search queries. I found that it underperforms from a conversion rate standpoint and can also be extremely costly. So those are just some examples of an account level negative keyword list. Again, pay close attention if you're running PMAX or shopping. This is your way to block irrelevant traffic so that you can't have that campaign level negative keyword list. So utilize both these, the campaign and account level negative keyword list, and be sure you make a reference to your search term report looking for new ideas. Because again, there's probably some words that you already know that you can add, but use that search term report to find new ones. I go to my search term report at least every single week, and I have a pretty robust negative keyword list, both at the account and the campaign level. And I'm still finding new ways. People are still searching in weird ways that I didn't even think about. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to our campaigns, and I'm going to click this icon to the right. Now, it doesn't matter which campaign I choose here. I'm just randomly picking the first one, which is my search campaign. It's going to bring up the account settings. I'm going to review that. Now, what I want to discover is what have I told Google is important for this campaign? What am I telling Google this campaign is supposed to do for me, right? And it's right up here. The second line is conversion goals. Now, it's concerning if I see zero, if there's nothing there, right? We want to have a goal in place. It's just as concerning if I expand this and I see too many goals. So oftentimes that's the case for a campaign that's been running for any amount of time. I see too many objectives that include app downloads, page views, phone numbers, newsletter signups, form fills, purchases, you name it. People have thrown the kitchen sink in here thinking these are all relevant, and technically they might. But I like to put horse blinders on campaigns and say, listen, your objective, if it truly is lead gen, I am not going to include purchases, page views, newsletter signups, none of that, video views, none of that stuff, just lead gen. I've created a custom one, which is a little bit further down the line in customizing your Google Ad account. Just know that these are campaign specific goals, and you can click the blue hyperlink here to change these goals. So when I audit accounts, a lot of times I'll see this. I'll see everything checkmarked. Okay. I don't want that. Put horse blinders on your campaign. If you need two campaigns with different objectives, that's fine. They can mirror each other and just split test the objectives and see which one performs better. But please put horse blinders on a campaign. Narrow this list down to one or two. Okay. Some common mistakes I see are people using a lot of conversion goals that include random things like purchases, even though their website doesn't have an e-commerce component. They're not using WooCommerce or Shopify. You can't check out online, yet they're telling Google that's the whole purpose of the campaign. So make sure that it makes logical sense. And from a technical standpoint, you have the objectives in place on your website that can actually be achieved before you tell Google that's what you want it to do. Randomly, the last couple of weeks, I've seen a lot of lead gen businesses have app downloads as a goal, and they don't have an app to even advertise. So it's really confusing to Google. Too many goals, and then goals that don't even exist for that business and are irrelevant are making it harder for Google to find your target audience. So I'm going to remove these and leave my custom lead gen. My custom lead gen, by the way, is just form fills and phone calls. and I'm going to hit save. Now, the second piece of this is scrolling down and making sure I'm using the right bid strategy. So I want to use a conversion-based bid strategy for anything that's related to lead gen. We've got multiple bid strategies, and I talk a lot about this on my tutorials for how to build a campaign. I always tell people when you start out, by default, use a click-based bid strategy, earn some conversions, and then switch to this top one, a conversion-based bid strategy. So I'm good. My account's been around for a while. I've earned a lot of conversions, thankfully. I want to keep it conversion-based bid strategy in place. If you're lead gen, do that. Start with clicks and move to conversion. So a common question I get is, hey, my traffic sucks. I'm not getting any conversions. And they've thrown the kitchen sink on with goals. They don't have a negative keyword list, and they're using a conversion-based bid strategy. I always say, let's strip this down. Let's add the negative keyword list. Let's narrow the campaign objectives and goals. And let's go back to a click-based bid strategy. Let's go try to find quality traffic to your website and get some leads, and then we'll switch so that the data we're giving Google on that conversion-based bid strategy, the conversions that were actually good, we're going to give that back to Google and say, now go amplify this and go replicate that by the new data we're giving you. So start with clicks, move to conversions, unless you're already getting some good conversions, then just change the objectives up top of the screen and go back down. Another mistake I see real quick, we're almost done, guys, is twofold. We're going to kind of combine these even though they're different, but we're going to stay right here in the campaign settings. The first is networks. I see too many people leaving the default settings from the campaign build to include search partners and most importantly, include the Google Display Network. We do not want these. This is focused on lead gen. I'm using a conversion-based bid strategy. I really want to stay on Google unless my budget dictates otherwise. If I have a really high budget, so I'm only spending $10 a day for my search campaign, but if I was spending $100 a day and I was just in the city of Tampa or Clearwater where I live, I might include Google Search Partners. Google owns a lot of other websites and search engines. This would allow my ads to appear across their network. I never want my search ad to appear on Google's display network. Google's display network, you see it, interact with it, whether you know it or not. Those are those banner ads on ESPN and weather.com and all the other websites that use Google AdSense. I don't want my search ad that includes no artwork to be listed on the display network ever. Wasted impressions. Deselect both of these, especially if your campaign is struggling. If you're watching this video wanting to improve performance, go back and deselect this. Strip the campaign down to the bare bones and reestablish what success looks like for Google. Lastly, guys, I see a lot of mistakes made with location settings. So Google prompts you one of these four options, all countries, US and Canada, just the US or another location. When people use this, they typically put another location and then they'll put a city, let's say. So I'm going to test this out and show you what I'm talking about. They will put something like this and include Clearwater, Florida. The map, if you look at it for Clearwater, Florida, is a really jagged line. There's holes in it. It looks like Swiss cheese, and it's really unnatural. It's a weird area. And even if I were to go around and select the cities around Clearwater, it would still be jagged. And the truth be told, Google's municipal and zip code targeting is not very effective. You will not earn the full amount of impressions available by using those two. So they offer them. And I know for some businesses, it offers really precise advertising. I understand that. By default, if you are a local business, I want you to use radius targeting. So please use radius targeting. And we can talk about how to do that. I'm going to save this real quick. We're actually going to X out of here, and I'm going to go down to my location settings here on the left-hand side. And we are going to hit the edit button and select the campaign so I can show this. I'm a visual learner, so I have to show people visually. So I'm advertising right now in all of Florida, and this was partly due to another tutorial I was working on. So I'm actually going to X out of that, and we're going to start fresh. So up here, I'm going to select radius. Notice it defaults to location. It wants you just to put in a city or a zip code. And let's actually show you why I don't like that. I'm going to put my zip code in here. Okay, this weird jagged box. And then I'm also going to add the city. Again, a really weird jagged box with these huge gaps in it. So again, it's awkward, but also it's not as effective as radius. You'll earn more impressions with radius targeting. So What I usually do is I start with a pretty big radius. It defaults to 20. And let's leave that and see what it looks like for my neck of the woods. I'm going to hit include, and 20 miles is fine. So this is something that is very dependent on your product or service. This would be your service area. Some rural areas you can go as big as 50 miles. Some cities like Miami and Dallas and Chicago, Los Angeles, a 7 mile radius, a 5 to 7 mile radius has the population density to be enough depending on your budget. So try to be precise. I recommend if your campaign is underperforming to shrink the radius and start even smaller. Try to own your backyard. And as you get success, then you can come in here and start to scale it bigger and bigger. I would say if you go outside of a certain radius, you need to put that in a separate campaign. All right. You shouldn't be using, anything greater than a 50-mile radius. Even that is probably really big. So be smart about it. Think about your business. Think about travel time if you're a local business that goes to someone's home. If you're not a destination, if you're not a brick and mortar, you need to think about the relevancy of the ad copy as it pertains to people in a certain geographical area. Either way, by default, I use radius targeting. For me, I don't go beyond 20-25 miles for any given city. And if I do, again, I just put that in a separate campaign and make it a completely separate geography. A great example of this is the Dallas-Fort Worth area, where I would never put Dallas and Fort Worth in the same campaign. No one in Dallas is driving to Fort Worth and vice versa. So if I do cover both those areas, I would actually just have two separate campaigns, one for Fort Worth and one for Dallas over here. So make sure you're using the right settings for geography. Sometimes if people launch a campaign that come to me and say, hey, why am I not earning impressions? I'll always go to locations and the bid strategy first because those two affect that the most. And I might find that people use a zip code that's not densely populated and it's limited, or they're using the municipal targeting and they're in an area that just doesn't cover it very well. It's very imprecise in more densely populated large cities. It's a little bit better, but if you're not in a big city, I don't recommend using zips or municipal. The targeting's horrible, and you're really limiting your impressions. So, guys, I hope that helps. Go build a negative keyword list at the account level or the campaign level. Review your objectives and your conversion goals and your network settings. And lastly, make sure you're targeting the right geography. Thanks so much for watching. Comment, leave questions down below. I appreciate your time, guys. Good luck out there.